Hi there, Casey Shepard, health coach here, bringing you more education as often as I can so that you can empower yourself to make better decisions or learn things that you have never heard of before in a different way that you've never heard before. I think empowering people to learn more about their body opens the doors for you to do a lot of your own research, make more changes in your life, and kind of put all the pieces together for you. And if you aren't comfortable doing that, this is how I work with my clients all the time in helping them figure out their specific bodies, what protocols they need to do, the right nutrition for them, the right lifestyle changes, and how to put all those pieces together and understanding why so that you can become the better version of yourself that you've never been able to figure out through anyone else. So, through my journey, I had all of those experiences going in, having doctors tell me I was fine, that there was nothing wrong when I knew it wasn't. So I had to empower myself, figure out my own things. And back then, there just wasn't anybody teaching things in this way, incorporating the lab report, actual science with symptoms, with the physique side and the actual physical goals. And not just throwing a million supplements at somebody. You can't just replace the body with everything it's lacking. It doesn't work like that. It's a feedback loop. So this is why I do things this way. So today my topic is birth control, and it's something that I'm very passionate about. And I know this is no judgment to anybody who's on it, but just for you to learn maybe what's going on and understanding things from a different perspective. So, I mean, personally, I was only on it for a year in college. I had a lot of issues. I started getting my cycle like every 2 weeks. They kept switching me on to different things. And I finally said, screw it, I'm coming off of this stuff. And then I didn't have a period for maybe like 2+ years till it finally came back. So even just being on it a year, my whole cycle was messed up. And as a child, I did have some other hormone issues. And in college, I got on it for, making sure that I didn't conceive. But there are a lot of people who are on it that are abstinent, and they're on it just because they had some hormone issues and their doctor didn't know how to help them. So they just stuck them on the pill. And the theory behind just putting someone on the pill is because when you take synthetic hormones, what you're doing is you're shutting off your pituitary gland. And now your pituitary gland is a gland in your head that signals your ovaries to make LH and FSH. And those two hormones are precursors to testosterone, estrogen, progesterone. And those are the three female hormones. And actually men make those three hormones as well, which most people don't realize, but just in different amounts. Our ratios are very, very different. So anytime you take that synthetic hormone from the outside, you're shutting off your natural production, okay? So you're only using what you're getting from this pill or the insert or the IUD, whatever form that you're using is the only form of birth control that you are, and the only form of hormones that you're getting in your system. Now, there are several issues with it. I'll kind of be all over the place, so I'm explaining this, but number one issue with taking synthetic hormones, you're at risk for cancer, heart disease, stroke, the list goes on and on, okay? Synthetic hormones just work different in the receptors of our body and just put you at a higher risk for all of these things. So that's number one. Number two is when you are a female taking synthetic birth control, there are different kinds, okay? You could do a depot shot, which is straight progestin. It's not even real progesterone. That's another issue we'll get to in a minute here. You could do a pill that's very low dose, and it's got a small amount of estradiol, smaller amount of progestin. All these different birth controls have different ratios and different amounts. However, none of the birth control, there is zero birth control that adds testosterone back in. And contrary to what people believe, women need testosterone. Women have to have it. And we do get brain fog. We have lack of muscle tone, lack of sex drive. All of these things contribute to a woman's body as well. So if we are shutting off our body from making LH, which signals our ovaries to make testosterone, then we aren't getting any. So a lot of women on birth control have a lot of issues with losing body fat and having a sex drive and seeing that muscle tone and sleeping well, not having brain fog. Like, so many of these things are so important. And women don't realize that is a hormone that you need. And when we reach postmenopausal age, when our ovaries stop making those hormones, we only get hormones from our adrenal glands. Adrenals can make a little bit of testosterone and a little bit of estrogen. So postmenopausal women will maybe get a little bit. Some women get lucky if they're on birth control and get a little bump of testosterone through their adrenals, but most of us live these crazy, stressful lives. Our adrenals are already shot, so we're already kind of having hormone production issues with cortisol and adrenaline. We aren't getting that testosterone back that we should be getting all the time. So that is a major issue of birth control. And then in the birth control pills, rarely is it ever a balanced level, okay? Mirena IUD, for instance, I have so many women on, I've tested actually on that, who have zero progesterone. So they're extremely estrogen dominant. And the issue with synthetic hormones is that it binds to the receptor. Let's say there's this estrogen receptor. The estradiol synthetic hormone that's in your birth control will go in and it will bind to that receptor and fill it. But because it is a synthetic, non-natural, it's not reacting the same in your body as the natural level would, if that makes sense. So you may get, it may do something for you, but that doesn't mean that you're still going to feel well from it. And progesterone is even more so an issue with that specifically, because it's not real progesterone, it's progestin. So the chemistry profile under a microscope, I wasn't, great with the chemistry and science, but if you looked at it under a microscope, you may have an extra branch or it might be missing one. So it's so close to that progesterone molecule hormone that it fits in there, but it's not the exact same. So it's not reacting the same in your body. So when I test women on birth control, even though they have progestin in the birth control, not progesterone, they can't even call it the same thing because it's not, their progesterone is showing bottomed out. And progesterone is so important for inflammation. It's a calming hormone. It opposes estrogen, so it keeps it safer in the body, less cancerous, less risk for stroke. Progesterone is needed for many things in the body. Number one being thyroid production. It helps with swelling. I notice a lot of people who lack progesterone have like kinkles or a lot of swelling in their lower extremities. There's just so many different things that progesterone is needed for. So that estrogen dominance is such an issue. Estrogen dominance can create a lot of anxiety and stress. And, you see these people on birth control that are suddenly on antidepressants and then they're on anxiety medication. And all of it's triggered just by their baseline hormones. And it's triggered because you're on a birth control that's not balancing your actual body. And a lot of these women who say, oh, they're on birth control, they want their doctor to run their hormones, the doctor will legit say, well, you're on birth control, so your levels don't matter. And I'm like, but they do, and I can see it in the labs. You can see if you're bottomed out and it's not reading. You can see if your estrogen skyrocketed through the ceiling and you have way too much. You can see that the testosterone is bottomed out. Whatever is in your blood, we can see it on the lab report. And with some of this stuff, even progesterone too, even with my non-birth control people, you could have progesterone in your blood, but because of high elevated cortisol and stress levels, your body could be not reading it correctly. And that's just something that there's nothing you can do about it. You just don't know. So you have to make the lifestyle changes to account for that. But if you do see that it's bottomed out low in a lab report, it's gonna be bottomed out low in your system where it's not doing the right thing. It's going to affect your metabolism, your mood, your energy, depression, mental illness, your body composition, your ability to just be motivated, your work ethic. There are so many mental processes that hormones control that people would never attribute to hormone balances. And it's not to say that people don't need to have more willpower, more discipline, whatever. But if you're struggling to get to a certain place, or let's even take like exercise tolerance, like if you just go to the gym and you hurt and you're swollen and you don't feel good, you don't recover, like there is something internally going on that's keeping your body from being able to like be doing what it's doing. So yes, the diet changes are important. Yes, supplementation. Yes, lifestyle changes, whatever. But at the core, if there's a very severe imbalance hormonally because of the pill, that's number one with fixing right away. And I even see people on birth control hormones that are on the low dose. The doctor's like, oh, we'll just put you on a low dose as if it's like less severe or something, which is not. But then these women who are suppressing their pituitary and then they're just getting zero, like they're not reading anything. So they've pretty much taken their body and put it into a postmenopausal state where they have zero amount of hormones in their body that they're reading at all. So that is another issue is, oh, I just feel so crappy and I just don't, my mood is low and whatever. I'm like, well, yeah, because you're like an 80-year-old woman right now without the hormones in your body because you're not reading any of the birth control synthetic that you're putting in anyways. So you would be much better off being on a higher dose, even to say that I don't think anyone should be on it, at all, in my opinion. But if you're you should be at least getting in enough where it's giving you something rather than putting in synthetic hormones that aren't even reading. And some women just don't read the hormones well because they are synthetic. And again, because they're not natural, your body may just reject and say, I'm not using any of this. It doesn't look right, doesn't fit, not using it. So the bottoming out part is also a real issue for women. And then if you're looking at some of the pills and other different forms of birth control, a lot of them have iron in it. So we get iron overload in the cells, which can create other mineral imbalances and deficiencies, liver issues. I would say almost every person that I run on some form of birth control has mineral deficiency issues, a lot of gut issues. It can create yeast and bacterial overgrowth in the gut. The list goes on and on and on. So most people don't realize you can only get pregnant a couple days out of the month, and I'm not advocating for people to be stupid about that. I know that it's a real concern with people, but I think teaching awareness method and understanding like ovulation lasts only a few days, learning to track your cycle, getting ovulation strips, and starting to learn where your cycle is at so that you don't get pregnant on the other days, but just knowing that it's worth it to track and to abstain a couple days of the month or use a different form of protection and then actually have a body that's healthy, getting what it needs. Because once it starts with the birth control, then it's hormonal imbalances, then it's mental illness, depression, anxiety, heaven forbid anything else that's more severe. Then I see thyroid starts to go out because of the mineral deficiencies and the lack of progesterone. And the list goes on and on. So it is a more serious thing than most people believe it to be. And a doctor will just throw it out like candy, not test anything else, not look at the person's health history or what's going on. And using birth control to fix a hormone imbalance. I see a lot of people, with extremely heavy cycles and heavy periods and pretty severe hormone issues. And the doctor's only way of curing that is to put them on a pill because it's going to lower their estrogen production and might take care of some of the symptoms in the heavy periods. But the issue is, why are these periods so heavy? What else is going on in the body? Is there some more serious sort of Hashimoto's or something that can cause a lot of this estrogen dominance? Is there endometriosis? Is there a severe lack of progesterone that's causing this estrogen dominance? Is there a nutrient deficiency? A lot of these things can be so easily figured out and addressed. And the reality is majority of these people who go on birth control to fix, let's say, a heavy period or something else will have even more severe issues down the line in their future. They're going to have cysts or some sort of cancer or severe gut issues, total severe metabolic issues, thyroid disorders. They may have something that's gone unnoticed because they've been on the pill, so it's, glossing over the issue. So I urge people to work with somebody like myself who does more integrative medicine. We're looking at all of the big picture. We're looking at your symptoms. We're looking at where things are at. And I mean, if I have to run somebody on their birth control to show them what's happening and why this is causing issues, I do that all the time too. But I do work with a lot of women coming off birth control to help them transition out, to help them get healthier, to flush the synthetic hormones out of their body, to start detoxing their liver and the cells so that they can start to regulate their cycle. And as they come off how do we help you balance this back into, a better place? And it is scary for women who've been on since they've been so young, and now in their later life suddenly want to make a family and are having issues with conception. And you've been so out of whack for so long that your system doesn't know how to balance its hormones properly. And you have all these vitamin and nutrient issues and gut imbalances. So now, even if you get pregnant, you're not holding that embryo because your system isn't healthy enough to do it. So a lot of these things are very serious issues that a lot of people don't think about until it's too late. So if you have any questions about any of the birth control stuff, other issues that could be coming up, something that you're personally experiencing, feel free to comment. Otherwise, I'm always available through my email, my contact form in my website. I'm very active on all my social media accounts, so please reach out. I can show you all the services that I offer with working with people one-on-one, as well as some of the consulting that I do.